Hello everyone and welcome. I am Aleksandar Mitic. I am from Serbia and I will be your guide and teacher through today's lesson about past continuous tense. So without further ado, let's get started. English language has quite a number of different tenses, most of which, as well as the one we are going to learn about today, the past continuous tense, are connected to explaining situations, from the past. And because of this, it may become somewhat confusing when we should use each of those tenses, right? So, when should we be using the past continuous tense, you ask? Well, I'm glad that you did. The past continuous tense is mainly used to describe a situation, an action, from the past that lasted a certain amount of time. And for this, we are going to need a quick reminder of the auxiliary verb to be and its past tense. Here we have the verb to be in its present and past tense. If you ever need to go back to this or any part of the video, I will make sure to put a timestamp in the video below. Okay. So how do we make a sentence using past continuous tense? Its main structure consists of the subject plus the verb to be in its past tense, which is was or were, plus the main verb in its infinitive form, plus the ing suffix. And below we can see a few examples of how to add the ing suffix to the main verb. In most cases, we just add ing to the end of the verb. But there are exceptions, as in the third example, where if the verb ends with the letter E is lost before adding the ing. Now, let's move on to see how everything we've learned so far fits together. As we mentioned, we use the past continuous tense to talk about something that started and lasted in the past. And here are a few affirmative sentences in the past continuous tense where we can clearly see the main structure implemented. Number 1. I was speaking. 2. Anna was writing. 3. They were walking. 4. He was working. 5. You were reading. Next, we have negative sentences, which are made by adding the word not after the past tense of the verb to be, or a conjunction of the word not and the verb to be. And we can see that in the following examples. Number 1. I was not speaking, or I wasn't speaking. Number 2. Anna was not writing. Anna wasn't writing. Number 3. They were not walking. They weren't walking. Number 4. He was not working. He wasn't working. Number 5. You were not reading. Or you weren't reading. You may freely use both of these methods because sentences with and without conjunction have the same meaning, but those without conjunction are generally considered more formal. Okay. Next on the list is the interrogative sentence form, which we can use if we want to ask someone a question about things that were happening in a past period of time. And this is achieved by the inversion of the subject and the auxiliary verb to be, which means that instead of having the subject first, we first have the verb to be and then the subject, followed by the verb plus ing. And here are a few examples. Number 1. Was I speaking? Question mark. Number 2. Was Anna writing? Number 3. Were they walking? Number 4. Was he working? Number 5. Were you reading? Important to note is that we can always use adverbs with the past continuous tense, such as yesterday, last weekend, 2 days ago. For example, were you reading yesterday? Or was he working last weekend? No, he wasn't working last weekend. And so on. Last but not the least, there is the interrogative negative form or the negative question form, which is made by doing an inversion of the verb to be and the subject, and then adding the word not after the subject. We should usually use these type of questions when we are not certain about how or if some things were happening in the past. Number 1. Was I not speaking? Question mark. Number 2. Was Anna not writing? Number 3. Were they not walking? Number 4. Was he not working? Number 5. Were you not reading? There is also another way to make these kind of negative questions, and that is by using the conjunction of the verb to be and the word not. So it equals to having the conjunction first, then the subject without the word not, and then the main verb plus ing suffix, as we can see. Number 1. Wasn't I speaking? Number 2. Wasn't Anna writing? Number 3. Weren't they walking? Number 4. Wasn't he working? Number 5. Weren't you reading? As we near the end of today's lesson, one more thing to note is that there can be a few other applications of the past continuous tense, most notably the ones with the usage of the conjunction while. First is for describing two or more actions that were happening at the same time. For example, while I was writing, the music was playing, in which case we use past continuous tense for each action. Or second, for describing one or more actions being interrupted by one or more actions. For example, while I was writing, my friend called me, in which we use the past continuous tense for actions that are being interrupted, and the past simple tense for actions that are interrupted. Congratulations to you for successfully finishing this lesson. If there was anything left unclear, be sure to go back and watch it again as many times you like, or leave a comment down below. Once again, my name is Alexander Mitic, your teacher, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more content like this. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!